is that the narrative around the finance bill, from what we're hearing from some sections of policymakers, is that it's going to be passed as is. And there seems to be unwillingness to engage. We are calling for engagement because the people who meet the costs of these kinds of proposals is employers and workers and Kenyans as a whole. So there needs to be engagement, and we believe if there's humility on the part of our national leaders and openness to engagement and listening to Kenyans, then we'll be able to really sit back and see the total impact of all the proposals that have come in the last few months and realize that they're not tenable. So that social dialogue, that engagement is what the Federation is calling for. We will, as employers, paint a very clear picture of how it's going to hurt us. But I believe our policymakers know these things. We're all Kenyans. For Kenyans to bear. Of our concern to us as employers is the shrinkage in the formal sector employment and our inability to create jobs in a country that desperately needs jobs for her youth. So that engagement is a strategy that FKE wants to have. I think you're all aware that when the housing levy was first proposed, it wasn't even this current regime. We did go to court and we obtained orders to stop it because there are very many questions around the housing levy that we had at that time, which we still have. When it was first made public by the present leadership, our belief was that it was for the public service only. We were concerned because the government is on record as not being able to pay the public servants. So we were wondering, where will this money come from? It seemed like the proposal was 1.5% from the worker, 1.5% from the employer, but that is not the case. It's actually 3% by both. So we think it's too high. The problem on job creation is simply that employers cannot create jobs when they are being taxed out of business. Businesses are not expanding to be able to create jobs. If anything, they are having to really review their operations, review the size of the workforce they have, where they can cut costs to be able to meet the demands of the tax regime that we have. The cost of doing business is very high. Over the last few years, the formal sector has been shrinking slightly, not alarmingly, because most of the jobs are actually being created in the informal sector. So we need to address this, where the formal sector is barely 1/4 of the total number of employment that is created in this country.